You're watching TVC News. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund has officially released the guidelines for public tertiary institutions on the administration of the landmark student loan scheme established under the Students' Loan Access to Higher Education Act 2024. The guidelines provide a clear framework for universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education to support the seamless implementation of the student loan program, ensuring transparent, inclusive, and accountable processes for Nigerian students seeking financial support for their education. The Managing Director of NELFUND, Akintone Soya, says, quote, "This initiative goes beyond providing loans. It's about removing financial barriers to education, fostering skills development, and building a future where every Nigerian student can achieve their potential regardless of background. These guidelines provide a roadmap for institutions and students to access the scheme transparently and efficiently," end quote. Well, for more on this development, we have the Managing Director of NELFUND, Akintone Soya, who is joining me live in the studio this morning. Thank you so much for joining us at this point.
Thank you, Theophilus. It's good to be here.
All right, so walk us through this guideline.
Okay, I mean, it's fairly simple. I mean, it's a fairly broad and detailed document, and it's probably difficult for me to walk you through every single element of it. But what I can tell you is that as time has gone on, we've sought to improve what we're doing. And the guidelines, the broad principles around it are to ensure that there's a timely process, way of putting this together so that the students or the applicants can have some predictability around when their funding will come. It also seeks to standardize certain elements. So we discovered, for example, that there are many institutions who are offering the same course to the same standard, but are charging different amounts for the course. We also noticed that some of the nomenclature, because we pay the institutional fees in total, some of the nomenclature is different. You know, what is called one thing in institution A is called something else in institution B. So we're seeking in the guideline to standardize the fees, standardize the nomenclature, so that there are no issues for the students. One key element that also we were trying to ensure we could iron out was that we would pay the institutional fees to give the students complete access to education. But then there were some other fees, departmental fees, which were not visible to us, that the students were then being asked to pay. So we said, look, we will take all the fees, put everything together so that we can give the students an amount of money in their portal at the school that covers all fees, field trips, lab fees, those sorts of things. So the guidelines also seek to harmonize all of that. And then, of course, we also recently updated our IT. So in the past, what we used to do was send a list to the institution to say, these are the people who've applied for the loan from your institution. Kindly verify. Today, we have a system where the applicants are automatically updated onto the portal, onto our portal, which all the directors of ICT and all the institutions have access to. So they can verify on an ongoing basis. They don't need to wait for a list of 1,000 students. They can literally verify one at a time on a daily basis. So that's the broad principle around the guidelines that we've released.
So what was the essence of having this broad principle?
The essence of it is to create a more efficient system. As I explained, you know, the students need to have some predictability around when their loans will come. You know, these students are facing deadlines for registration, for examinations, for all sorts of payments. And of course, if you apply for the loan and you don't know when the loan is going to come, that deadline may well come before the loan arrives. Okay. That then puts the students in an invidious position where they have to make the payment to the institution. And then when the loan finally comes, the student and the institution are also now in an invidious position where they have to make a refund to the student. That comes with all sorts of challenges, you know, bank charges, delays in refunds, deductions, all those sorts of things.
Documentations as well.
Sorry?
Documentations as well.
Documentation, who paid the fees in the first place, who is the account that they're refunding to, how do they verify they're paying the money back to the right account, all sorts of issues. So the idea behind this is to sort of streamline that. And we're going to find that we're going to be changing our guidelines from time to time as we discover issues. We have to make the system more and more efficient. It isn't here are the guidelines, they're going to sit there forever. We're going to be continuing to improve. We're in a continuous improvement environment.
All right, so far, how much has been disbursed?
So far, we've disbursed a total of 92 billion. The way that's broken down is that 51 billion has gone to 225 institutions in institutional fees. 41 billion has gone to upkeep. That's the amount of money we pay every month to the individual students.
Okay, so in all of this now, what has been the feedback from students towards all of these loans for given to them by the government?
So look, in general, today we have 482,000 beneficiaries. Of course, if you're a beneficiary that's receiving funds, the feedback is excellent, because this scheme was not in place last year. It wasn't in place 2 years ago. It wasn't in place 3 years ago. What the president has done is that through this scheme, he's taken the fees off the table for the student and the families. And then on top of that, he's authorized that we pay them a monthly stipend. The feedback is excellent. Of course, it's important to remember that in any scheme of this magnitude, of this size, and because it deals with money, if somebody is expecting money on a Monday and by Wednesday it hasn't arrived for one reason or the other, they become agitated. It would happen to you, it would happen to me. So the general feedback is that people are really pleased by this, because this is a scheme that the president voluntarily offered to the people, redistributing funds for their benefit, so everyone seems to be happy. We're trying to make sure that the administration is better, so that the satisfaction rates are better. We'll never get to 100%, because there are always going to be people who are waiting for funds or who have missed something. I'll give you an example. When you apply for the loan, you apply for the institutional fees. When you've applied for the institutional fees, you can then apply for the upkeep. Some people forget to apply for the upkeep, and they go away and they're expecting upkeep to turn up. Of course, we're not going to pay upkeep if you haven't applied. Some people have put in the wrong account number or the wrong bank name. Again, you're going to be dissatisfied with the process, with the system, if you've made a mistake. And then we, on our own side, have to make sure that we follow a process that is auditable. And if we can't do that, if we find anything wrong with the application, we won't process it until we clarify it. And of course, that could lead to some dissatisfaction. Okay, quickly. Recently, the House of Reps began an investigation into NELFUND's disbursement in the Southeast. Can you react to that? I can't really react to that. It's an investigation. And an investigation is meant to investigate to understand what the issues are. I'm not aware that we're treating any part of this country, any region differently. Our disbursement process is transparent. We disburse to students who have applied from across Nigeria. It's important to remember that there are students from the Southeast who originate from the Southeast in institutions in the North. There are students from the Southwest who attend institutions in the Southeast who have applied for our loans. I don't understand this disbursements to the Southeast. We don't look at it like that. So I think, sometimes these investigations come for a good reason. And it's right that the National Assembly should be investigating everything. That's their job. So let's allow the investigation to run its full course, and then we can comment on the report. All right.
Akintunde, sir, thank you so much for joining us and discussing this. Thank you.
Dear Phyllis, thank you for having me on your show again. Thank you.